Now, scores of farmers who descended on the union buildings yesterday have strongly criticized President Cyril Ramamphosa and Police Minister Cele on what they deem to be silence on farm killings. The Transvaal Agricultural Union says farm attacks have increased by 60% in the last decade. Last week, farmers from Senegal destroyed state property and rampaged through the town's court, demanding the release of the men arrested for the murder of a farm manager. The events have triggered heated debate on social media. Newzroom Afrika's Sipakema has more on this story.
No farmers, no food. That's the slogan used by the farming communities who have decided to take to the streets and protest against farm murders. The farmers say, genoeg is genoeg.
The prices will go up for food. Food will become more expensive. We're going to cry and say, why is food so expensive? There's no farmers here, so we have to import all the food. So all of us are going to cry, why is pap so expensive? Why is chicken so expensive? Why is our braai so expensive? We're going to have a problem, you see. So it's a very, very big impact, yes.
While food prices and security could be the main concern, the events which unfolded in Senegal triggered the tension which borders on racial issues in the country. Following the murder of a 21-year-old farmer, the farming community stormed the town's court, demanding the accused be handed over for mob justice. In the midst of the chaos, state-owned property was destroyed and live ammunition discharged. The majority of South Africans questioned the police's passive behavior towards the white farmers. It seems this tweet from the Economic Freedom Fighters CIC, Julius Malema, has set this in motion.
Here is trouble. There's big trouble in South Africa. There's something brewing here for the past 25 years. And Senegal in the Free State showed that to you last week Tuesday. Vrydag, die 16 Oktober, sien ek julle in Senegal. Die streep is daar in die grond getrek.
With all this being said, the Fight Against Farm Murders organizer says the group has not declared war.
I think we need to understand we didn't declare war. We were there at Senegal assisting the parents of Brendan and also to oppose bail. But I think what you see in Senegal, it's the farming community that make a statement there. I think they also say enough is enough and when it's going to stop.
While some say land grabs have become the last straw for these farmers, others claim this could be the racial cracks in South Africa finally becoming visible. If last week's events are anything to go by, the rallying of the 16th of October paints a picture of dread for innocent bystanders. For Newzroom Afrika, Channel 405, I'm Sipakema in Pretoria.
Now, Chris Nissen from the South African Human Rights Commission joins us on the line to unpack this further. Chris, thank you for your time and thank you for joining us on Weekend Dawn. I'd like to know something. Do you think government is actually doing enough to deal with the farm killings, considering that they've been up on the rise, at least for the past 10 years or so, by 60%?
Let me first of all say to that any murder is one murder too many in our country. And when you look at the farming community, I am of the opinion that the police should strengthen their strategy and do much more in order to make sure that all South Africans, but in particular the farmers, who is the custodians of food security, that they need extra protection and they need to be protected in a much more vigilant way as we see.
Now, with that said, Chris, do you think the recent protests in Senegal in the Free State were actually justified?
Well, you see, I mean, when we look at our country, I mean, we've seen service delivery protests. We've seen it all over the country where we see people and communities who are dissatisfied with the service that they receive or feel that they're being marginalized or feel that they are being left behind, has the right to protest. And therefore, I think it's important that we support the farming community in their protest for better service delivery.
And then what took place yesterday, the march and the drive with the bikers from Montana to the union buildings, it was a big protest, you could call it. Do you think it's prompted the government to actually take action now, or even the police to take action against farm killings?
Well, with protests come, as I always say, to any protest comes responsibility. We've got the right to protest. And I think it's when we raise our voices, the government has to listen to those voices and not just dismiss any voice that comes from a community who is emotionally broken, a community who has been worried and who is most vulnerable as well. And so, yes, government has to listen. The Human Rights Commission in 2014 has had a hearing on farm killings, and it made certain recommendations. And that's why we are very happy when Minister Cyril delivered the Rural Safety Program strategy in Parliament 3-4 weeks ago. We are saying as the Human Rights Commission, perhaps we should be doing much more than just monitoring and engage government and support the protest for better protection.
Now, in terms of what is brewing on the ground, specifically with farmers being attacked, do you think that something else could be, this could be leading us to something else that could be something we can't control, especially because of the racial divide behind it?
Well, the thing is, as I said, one murder is one murder too many in this country. The Human Rights Commission is also looking into the hate speech part of it. I think that what we must understand, that we are in a very dysfunctional society. If you look at the killings on the Cape Flats, you look at GBV, or the rise in GBV, and so on, and we ask yourself why, and if you see the rise in farm murders, and you ask yourself what's happened to our society. And we would like to see much more be done in terms of farm watchers and get the workers involved in those farm watchers, getting oversight bodies such as the community sectors involved in it and so on, so that in every province that there is a definite targeted program in order to protect the most vulnerable, in this case, those who are the custodians of food security, namely the farmers.
Do you think in prosecuting any criminals who are found guilty to have who are found guilty or could have been involved in any farm murders, do you think a quicker prosecution process will deter criminals from going ahead and continuing on the killing of farmers?
Well, I think a thorough and a rapid investigation and prosecution is necessary. So it could be a deterrent. However, I think we need to have a holistic approach in involving everyone in the particular area, neighborhood watchers, farm watchers, the CPF, the police, the judicial system, and the farmer and the farm worker, all of them being involved in saying how do we best protect our farmers and how do we best engage the different sectors so that you kind of cut off any access for any criminal to those farms.
We've seen the police minister visit farmers in the likes of KZN recently where similar incidents occurred. But what more can the police minister do at the moment to be able to put farmers at ease and also make sure that the killings don't continue?
I think that, the minister, as I know him, is a very committed minister and is hands-on on the ground. And every life in this country matters to the minister. And I think what is important is to make sure that there's enough resources to strengthen the rural safety strategy of the South African Police Services and to monitor that very closely so that we ensure that the farming community, farmers and farm workers are protected.
And maybe a similar thing would be necessary for the president to get involved, especially from a budget perspective, helping the Transvaal Agricultural Union, AfriForum, and all of the other organizations that have been vocal about farm killings. Maybe a budget to appoint security personnel could also help in curbing the farm killings?
I think that's one way that it can help, but also we must also look at the situation that sometimes it is in crime, as I say always in our communities, combating crime is 50% police and 50% human behavior. I mean, my mantra is don't buy stolen goods, because stolen goods comes with blood, it comes with the loss of life. And therefore we need to do more in society to educate our people and to protect our people. And yes, there needs to be more money for rural development, for rural safety. And the President, or through the budgetary process, it can happen. But I think we need to come together as South Africans and say, how do we engage all of these organizations, and how can we best go forward in terms of be vigilant in creating a safer space for our farmers and farming communities.
I think maybe another option that should be looked into is maybe the idea of bringing the commando units that we had in the past, the ones that are comprising of army reservists and police reservists. Would that be an option as well?
Well, you know, when the minister looked at the situation in the Cape Flats, and when there was a demand for the army to come, he took a decision, or he consulted, and a decision was taken for the army to be a backup into protecting the people of the Cape Flats and combating the criminal gangsters and crime. I think if that is part of it, then yes, we need to look at that kind of option and say, how do we bring back the army, even it could be for a short space of time, but again, create an environment and bring back the reservists so that we can all work together to combat farm killings.
Chris Nissen, we'll leave it there, from the South African Human Rights Commission, chatting to us about reports related to an increase in farm attacks. Thank you very much for your time, Chris.